Alright, boss, remember your pressure points.
Alright. Are you gauging your ears, or that's just
Right.
lookalikes? Who knows?
Their lookalikes are his.
No, they're mine, but mine are bigger.
Although the use of illegal drugs has declined in the past several years, a new problem is starting to emerge. This problem is the abuse of over-the-counter medications and prescription drugs. Did you know that 1 out of every 11 people between the ages 12 and 26 have admitted to abusing these drugs? After hearing this speech, you as the audience will know more about these over-the-counter medicines and prescription drugs and how to prevent the abuse of said drugs. The first drug we're going to talk about is DXM. It's dextromethorphan. It is contained in over half of all over-the-counter medications. These medications include Robitussin, NyQuil, and Vicks. Now, these contain like a smaller dosage than other cough medicines, such as Coricidin cough and cold. It contains a higher dosage and has more negative effects. It's also a cheap drug, and you can purchase it on the internet, so it's very accessible to teens. Also, there are no legal restrictions on it, which make it even more accessible. Overdoses in this drug occur in groups, kind of as a word-of-mouth thing, as it travels around the nation. So you see clusters of overdoses occurring in teen groups throughout the nation. Its side effects are nausea, impaired judgment, and loss of consciousness. And even in more serious cases, comas have occurred and death has occurred. The next one we need to talk about is Dramamine. I know everybody knows what Dramamine is. It's the motion sickness pills. But teens now are starting to take this drug in very, very high doses for its hallucinogenic effects. It causes hallucinations. And some other drugs that are of note are prescription drugs such as Ambien, which is taken for its hallucinations. Vicodin, hydrocodone, and Darvocet are 3 major painkillers that are widely used, and they cause loss, like impairment of judgment and depth perception. So teens operating motor vehicles are at a high risk while on these. And others that are used are Xanax, which is for depression, and Adderall, which is for ADHD.
Yeah.
The best way to resolve this issue is prevention. And some ways to prevent these drugs from being abused are to talk and explain to your children about the dangers of using these drugs and the side effects that they can occur. If you pay attention to those that are around you, and if you see them taking medicine when it's not cold or flu season, they might be abusing these drugs. If you notice that medications in your house are disappearing, you might have family members or friends or children that are taking these. Another thing you can do is you can monitor the internet use, because a lot of these drugs can be purchased over the internet, and so they're very accessible. And if you notice, if somebody's not sick and they're taking drugs, obviously that's out of the ordinary and should be taken into account.
Of course.
After talking about some of these drugs and explaining the methods of prevention, I just want to recap and say that these medicines are safe and effective when they are used in their proper dosage. They're very helpful, very beneficial, and they do what they're supposed to. But it's the abuse that we really need to take great concern about, because we don't want our youth to be addicted to dextromethorphan or Dramamine or these other drugs at an early age, because it's only going to cause a lot more problems in the future. Alright, does anybody have any questions?
Nope. What other drugs could be abused?
You could almost abuse anything. Too much of anything is a bad thing. It's always been key in moderation. Like, that's always been my outlook in life. Like, so much of anything is a bad thing.
So if I eat too many apples, it's bad?
Well, did you know that if you eat too many blue M&Ms, it can actually give you cancer because the blue dye contains carcinogens?
Stop. No. No more questions.
I think that's it.
Alright.